Hey, what's up YouTube? Scale Model Assassin here. Got a new build for y'all today, the Messerschmitt Bf-109 G6. This first part of the build though is only going to focus on the cockpit. Got a resin cockpit with some photo etch detail that I'm going to put together for y'all. I'll show how I add some chipping and scratches with the AK Extreme metal as the underlying base coat with Tamiya acrylics covering it up, and then finally an oil paint wash to finish it all off. For most of the resin parts, I'll put them together with a thick super glue. That way I got enough time to position them before the glue dries. This photo etch bending tool is the newest addition to my supplies. Up until now, I've bent everything with just tweezers or blades or just a flat edge. And to be honest, sometimes I still bend things with just my fingers. You just got to figure out what works best. The bending tool really comes in handy on large parts like flaps, and then also parts that have a real short bend, real tight 90-degree edges that you have to make. At the same time, I also bought a rolling set, which came in handy for the straps that go on the rudder pedals. Of course, the alternative to this is bending things around your various paintbrush sizes, which is still a great option. The detail on this resin is exceptional, and on this piece right here, I'm literally threading the photo etch through a tiny hole that was included on the resin. It's a good idea to cut out the photo etch on a hard surface instead of a cutting mat. I've been meaning to go pick up a floor tile. Hopefully I can just get the hardware store to give me a broken one. But in the meantime, I've been using spare flat parts from old kits. So right here, I think I've got a piece from an old Dragon Panzer tank. Once I'd primed the pieces and put down a base coat of aluminum, let it sit for a day, came back with the chipping fluid and let that dry for about 15 minutes till I could no longer see it pooling on the surface. Then I sprayed the top coat of German gray. I made a few highlights on the German gray by just putting a little bit of sky gray in the cup, mixing it up, and then doing a little color modulation. I repeated this process a couple times to get multiple shades. Once I finished with the German gray color, I waited, let it dry to the touch, about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and then I started with the chipping process. So from applying chipping fluid to starting the chipping, I mean, that was maybe 30 or 45 minutes. Don't want to let it sit too long, or else the colors will just set in and they'll be hard to chip. I found for these pieces that using a paintbrush was a little too big and I'd get quite large chips, so I'll use a toothpick as well as the back of my hobby knife to put in chips and scratches. I basically repeat this process over and over, adding water here and there when I'm having trouble getting any sort of chipping going on. Since we all know that Tamiya paints are hard to brush paint and they tend to dry out quickly, I experimented with some of the AK 3rd generation acrylic colors. I bought about 5 bottles of real common colors to test them out, and so here I laid down a white coat on the parts that are going to get painted yellow and blue. Unfortunately, I didn't buy a yellow color, so I'm using the Tamiya yellow, and you can see that I keep a little puddle of thinner, in this case Mr. Leveling Thinner, off to the side, where I'm constantly going back and forth with my brush, trying to keep things hydrated so the paint is not drying out on the brush too quickly. Sometimes with photo etch parts that I don't think need a really strong hold, I'll attach them with PVA glue. Also, it dries clear and you can dab up all the excess with a damp cotton swab like I've done here. Up until this point, I haven't used any sort of gloss coat or clear coat. So this is the first gloss coat I'm putting on before I start the oil paint weathering. I'll wait about 20 or 30 minutes after I put the wash on, let it dry a little bit, and then go back with a dry paper towel, just start wiping it away. The photo etch seatbelts were pretty good overall. Once you get to bending them around to make them look a little more realistic, you do have to be kind of careful. If you bend them too much, some of the coating that has all the detail that's painted on starts to lift off from the actual metal part. Adding a medium brown or dark brown wash to the seatbelts too also helps them look a little better so that they're not so shiny and pristine. These clear plastic parts on the gun sights were held in place with PVA glue, and they took a bunch of tries before I could get them to be lined up with each other and straight. If you're still watching this, thanks for putting up with me for an entire 10 minutes, making it to the end. Leave a comment below with what you like in the video. Also like to get some constructive criticism with what you didn't like and what I can do better next time. Keep an eye out. You'll see the full build video for the whole Bf-109 coming out soon. I'll put a link in the comments when I've got it finished.